they'll put a bunch of shit together on that one. And forgive me if I'm missing something, if I'm not seeing somebody else that's in that on that card. I'm just not looking at it. On to some football, man.
Quite a few. Actually, long time away, but yeah, let's talk football. Almost forgot it was football season.
Yeah, which is kind of great. It's great. Look, hockey starts tomorrow. The puck drops in Tampa. I'm so excited about hockey season. But we're here for the NFL. This is the line, and we like talking about those numbers. So last week we were joined by His Eminence, the greatness that is Pepper Jack, the Big Cheese. Pepper Jack threw out some numbers at us, and he was 5-7-1 against the spread last week, which is not bad. 5 wins is a nice run. You and I both, as the experts, were 6-1, respectively. We both fell into that category.
That's usually that's not bad considering if Jack likes, he's the man of the numbers and he likes to play the masses and with the popular opinion. That's actually very, very good considering your odds.
Yeah, you're in the mix at that point. You can have 6 and 6 weeks and survive because you're not going to play 12, 13 games every week out in the desert. You're not doing that. But if you can pick 6 you like, that's a lot of games to play. I would like to say 2 or 3 throughout the course of the day.
I was told by a friend of mine who was a dealer in Las Vegas for quite a few years, and he told me, and I don't know, but this, food for thought. This is what he said, but he told me in his years out there, he knew quote-unquote professional gamblers. Their odds, I think he told me their odds of, betting on all the games, all together was like 46%.
Yeah, and you're going to be below. You're going to be below. The way that those guys can actually afford to survive is putting value on games and betting higher amounts on games you like more than others and losing. So out of the 46% winners, you have to hope that those are a lot of your higher valued games as well. And there's a lot of numbers that go into all that. But like I said, we were all just in the 500 ballpark over the weekend. We're all in the 500 ballpark on the season, which is not horrible. We've had some bad weeks in there, which we don't have time to get into, thankfully. But you and I both had a couple calls last week that were on the money. My favorite game going into that week was the Minnesota Vikings minus the 6.5 over Houston in Minnesota. Minnesota just whipped their ass. But I told you guys out there a little fantasy advice to bench DeAndre Hopkins. That's the week you bench a stud. And he had an absolute horse shit, bogus, garbage time touchdown with under a minute 30 left, where it looked like Minnesota just laid back and let him eat up the clock and score. So other than that last 2 minutes of that game, DeAndre Hopkins was the right call to put him on the bench. I got to stand by that. But we both did pound Minnesota. I played them pretty heavily and enjoyed all that.
Minnesota is the team to I don't know. I think that they are. I'm going to go ahead and say that they're the clear-cut team to beat in the NFC. But I want to get to another team who impressed the shit out of me on Sunday was Dallas Cowboys. They're impressive right now.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that, please.
Well, they physically beat up a very what I thought was a very, very physical Cincinnati Bengals team. They just beat them up. Their offensive line was way too much for their defensive line. Zeke Elliott had all kinds of room to run, and you give that kid a mouse hole, he's going to make it a crater. I mean, he doesn't need much. And Dak Prescott looked great again. The Cowboys looked, and their defense played well. The Cowboys looked very, very impressive.
Let's make a bold prediction here involving a head coach in the AFC North, and the bold prediction this year is a big one because I spent a lot of time defending this guy, but Marvin Lewis loses his job this year if that team doesn't make the playoffs.
Without a doubt. If they don't make the play, they might not even hold him on if they get into the playoffs and they lose in the first round again.
Yeah, if he's one and done, no matter how many times I've defended him, if he's one and done this year, he's gone.
He's gone, yeah. Let alone if he doesn't make it at all. He doesn't make it at all. I mean,
he's toast, and he'll end up somewhere else. He'll get another job. I'm not worried about that.
Well, he will. He will definitely get another job, but it's time to move on. I mean, he just obviously couldn't take him to the next level in Cincinnati.
No, he'll end up in Detroit, where a guy like Jim Caldwell is just not going to do the job. They played hard for him last year, but it's just not going to happen. That team's just not there. And I don't want to talk about the Detroit Lions at all. The other team I do want to talk about, though, is the Atlanta Falcons. They're 4-1. They score a buttload of points, and they win to Denver against a very good defense, and they ran them the hell over. They ran them over. Tevin Coleman is for real. He was a fantasy sleeper of mine at the beginning of the season. I managed to draft him in 2 leagues. I'm very happy about that. He was a guy who had that starting job until he got hurt last year, and then Devonta Freeman took the job. So they are splitting carries, but that's one hell of a committee in Atlanta. You keep Matt Ryan upright, like Pepper Jack brought up last week. He's slinging the ball all over the field. Julio Jones is freaking Julio
What I've
Jones.
noticed about the Falcons, too, is they're playing better defense, too. Granted, against a rookie quarterback in the Broncos last week. They're playing, but they're not good on defense yet, but they're playing better.
They are.
That's all, and that's all they need to do. They need to just be better. If that defense can be, that offense is so explosive, Julio Jones, he's neck and neck. Antonio Brown and Julio Jones are right there. You could almost make an argument for either one as the best receiver in the National Football League. But
yeah, I think it's a close 1A and 1B.
Atlanta,
it is. Those two guys
they're
are
like
great.
the Steelers. The Steelers and the Falcons, they're both on the teams that have very similar platforms. Their offense is so good. Their defense just has to be good enough. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be great. That offense is so good. All the defense has to do is get a stop here and there. Maybe force turnovers.
I disagreed with you one time. I think you're on it. So that Atlanta team, let's see who they really are going down the stretch. It's a long season. That offensive line stays healthy. That's a team that's going to be very tough to beat. They took a lot of pressure off Matt Ryan. I like the Atlanta Falcons a lot this year. So we're going to showcase a couple of those teams on the Saturday prediction show. There's a few things I want to look at and start to this point in the season when you hit this week 6, 7, and 8. It's really like bread and butter time. I like this time of year because you can start to pick out big value winners and start to look at that one team that you got a nice line. But Vegas knows what they're doing from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, but they do make their mistakes. In the middle of the season, sometimes you're able to find something where a team that hits that midseason form a little bit early can get you, just get you that cover that you're looking for ever so desperately. One team that I want to bring up right quick, and I think they just deserve it because they finally cracked the top 10 in power ranking numbers. It's the Oakland Raiders. Thank you very much. 4-1 start to the season. I'm so excited about it. I think it's fantastic. However, their defense blows. It blows. They're not getting pressure on the passer. Coverage is a little bit better next week. Let's see what they do against the Kansas City Chiefs this week. But I think that this is a good young team. But this is a team that I do want to point out for the sake of the line, for the sake of the number, for the sake of against the spread. Don't bet on the Oakland Raiders. They don't cover.
This is a huge game for your Raiders at home.
It's huge
Against division rival. This is a huge game to show everybody that they're back. And against a division rival, against a pretty good Kansas City team, and not a great team, but they're pretty good. They're a team that can beat. They're a division game, and exactly. And not only just Kansas City. Kansas City is that type of team that they can go look really bad one week, and then they can go beat about anybody the following week. They're that kind of team.
That's right. They had a week off to regroup. Andy Reid coming off a bye week scares me. He's actually unbeatable coming off a bye week. So this is certainly a week that you do not want to lay any points with the Oakland Raiders. This game has Kansas City all over it. I don't want to talk too long about it because we're actually getting up against our time frame. We got about 7 minutes left here, homie. But all in all, man, for the NFL season, has it been that great of a season? It doesn't seem like we have this monster headline, this storyline.
No, it's not like you've seen a whole lot of great, fantastic finishes and great. There's been some surprises. Like if you'd have told me before the season the Minnesota Vikings were going to be the best, maybe arguably
the last undefeated team at least.
Well, the last undefeated team, the Patriots, and the Patriots did lose. I forgot.
Patriots lost.
But yeah, the Vikings to be the maybe very much. Could very well be the best team in the NFL right now. That defense is big time.
It is.
Nobody has cracked the code of that defense yet. They've shut down Aaron Rodgers. They've shut down Cam Newton. I mean, they've just blown away everybody. There's not been anybody to crack the code of that defense yet. So.
No, not at all. It's been really impressive. Mike Zimmer put together quite a defense. They've drafted really, really well. If you look at some of the names on that defense, Xavier Rhodes is playing lights out. He's playing like the best cornerback in the NFL, period.
Playing very well.
Because he's shutting down good players every week. Every week he's getting a hold of a good receiver and he's shutting them down. Got nice play up front. Guys like Anthony Barr have come into their own, are playing exceptionally well. Chad Greenway, I think, is on his last legs, and he's still doing a great job of leading that defense. Just Zimmer's put together a really nice defense, and Sam Bradford on the other side. We all owe Sam Bradford a big apology. He is what you think he is. He's just a very simple, unflashy quarterback who, given the right system, you cater to him. He just does what you ask of him, not too much.
Well, like I said, he's the guy. He's in a great situation. He finally got the kid in a great situation where
this is
he knows his limitations. He knows where he is, and they can go in every game and be like, look, man, we got a great defense. So it's a good feeling when you're a quarterback, unlike a Drew Brees or somebody like that who has to go into each game thinking or an Andrew Luck who's got to go, who knows, my defense is terrible. I have all the pressure on me. I have to score at least 40 for it to give us a chance. We have to have the mindset we got to score 40 to win today. Whereas opposed to Dan Bradford's like, look, breathe easy, man. Look, our defense is really good. You're not bad. You're average.
Get in there twice and let's see.
You're average, and just exactly score 6. Give us 17 points. That's all we ask, and don't turn the ball over.
You had Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Baltimore Ravens were teams like that. Brad Johnson being the best of those quarterbacks. Yeah. Those defenses won games, and it was really go score 2. Give us 14 points. We're gonna hold the other guys to 6, and when that happens, that's really tough to beat down the stretch. I don't see anybody in the NFC that's going to be strong enough to blow them up. I just don't see it right now. Not 5 weeks in, I don't see it.
No, Minnesota's that team where your defensive, your offensive coordinators especially, you're trying to figure out some kind of blueprint. But what do I see on film that this defense? Me personally, the casual fan, I'm not a coach or an expert, but I look at this defense like, what can you do on this defense? You can't run on them. You can't throw on them. What do you do?
Well, I think this is shaping up for a February meeting between the Minnesota Vikings and none other than the only coach who you would expect to figure something out. We all know who that is.
The New England Patriots. I'm anxious to see them go up against. I don't think Minnesota. There's something wrong in Green Bay as far as the end. They got the win against the Giants, but I watched that game. That offense is it's not clicking like it should be. There's something wrong there. No running game is right. There's something wrong there. I think you hit it on the head. I would love to see this team.
You have to at least have the threat of doing both, and that's what that team doesn't have. There's other teams in the NFL who have great passers, and they sling the ball around. New England throws the ball all day. New Orleans throws the ball all day. The problem they have is they don't have the threat of running the ball. Eddie Lacy, everybody can stop. If one more magazine publication listing cheat sheet, fantasy football bullshit comes out at the beginning of the next season telling me that Eddie Lacy goes in the top 10, I'm going to set fire to it and do it on YouTube. Eddie Lacy is not a top 10 fantasy running back or top 10 running back in the NFL. He's just not that good. Face it. James Starks is a better running back.
Hard to dispute that right now.
It is. Every year they have all these high hopes for Eddie Lacy. Oh, he's put on 20 pounds of muscle. Oh, he's taken off 30 pounds of fat. Oh, we bought him new feet. There's nothing you can do about this guy. He's not that good. He's just not. You know what he is? He's a guy inside the 2. Give him the ball, let him slam it up in there and see. But you look at him and you think, man, look at that horse. He's not Jerome Bettis. Jerome Bettis was a horse on twinkle toes. Eddie Lacy is a horse with bricks on his feet. He's plodding. He's heavy. He's not a good runner. I don't want to go on forever on this shit, but Eddie Lacy is part of the Green Bay Packers problem.
No, I think some of these so-called fantasy experts need to hear this because you're fucking somebody's team up every single year by poisoning some guy guy who just reading off the cheat sheet, which is their own problem too. But they're reading off the cheat sheet. Well, I think that I'll take Eddie Lacy here because that's what the experts say. I have no opinion for myself.
Pick overall, Eddie Lacy, get out of here. And last year I saw him go top 7, 8, 9 all year long in every draft. There's no need for this shit. But they had that Green Bay Packer team. They need to draft a running back. They need somebody to take over and to be able to at least have 15 to 20, not touches, but carries. They need somebody to carry the football to start to create the idea that at some point we can pop a good run. James Stark's the only one who can do that, but I don't want to be redundant. In the NFC again, though, how about guys like what's going to happen in Dallas? You mentioned the Dallas Cowboys, and that's a team that are they 4-1?
I believe so.
I think they are. I can't believe they kicked the shit out of the Bengals like they did. I can't believe it.
That surprised the hell out of me. I was all over. I thought this was the game Dak Prescott would be welcome to the NFL. It would be his rookie moment.
I thought so.
He'd throw a couple picks. I thought Cincinnati, they had experienced guys, good defense, and they were tough. They were physical. But Dallas just punched them in the mouth and knocked them on their ass and then took the boot to them.
Yeah, they certainly did.
It was an embarrassment. It was an embarrassment. I think Cincinnati just wasn't ready for it. I think they